Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
All over the United States in the past several years, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, and various other right-leaning groups have violently clashed to the horror and escalating partisanship of the general public. In order for me to catch everyone up to speed on Portland, Oregon's recent craziness, we have to go back to August 4th, 2018. The right-leaning side had individuals that were ostensibly marching for free speech. The left made it clear that they were marching to show supposed racists and fascists they were not welcome in their city. I personally attended the rally and spent time on both sides. That afternoon, the police who were separating the two groups fired riot control weapons into the Antifa and Black Lives Matter crowd. I wasn't towards the front of the Proud Boys crowd in order to see what had preempted the police dispersing the crowd, but I later saw video of glass bottles being thrown at police. The glass bottles looked to me like they had been filmed prior to the first flashbang being shot by police. The Patriot Prayer side was not subjected to riot control measures. 2 months later, Mayor Ted Wheeler told local media prior to the start of the day's events, police officers found individuals from Patriot Prayer who had, quote, positioned themselves on a rooftop parking structure in downtown Portland with a cache of firearms. Only 1 day later, the police had to basically retract the story, clarifying there were only 3 rifles found, all unloaded, and still in their cases, one of which was even disassembled. Police verified that the protesters were legally within their rights to carry these weapons as they all had concealed carry permits. The men told the sergeant that they were going to stay at the garage and act as a quick extraction team in case any of their group was injured during the demonstration. Fast forward to September 30th at 3 a.m. 2 separate Portland police officers responded to an active shooting situation. When they arrived, they saw gun flashes and reported that a man turned towards them visibly holding a gun. They shot him, and he died later at a hospital. This man's name was Patrick Kimmons. He was 27 years old. The officers found 5 guns at the scene, one of them near where Kimmons fell, as well as 2 gunshot wounded other men that they had transported to local hospitals, saving their lives. Neither a coroner's report or surveillance videos that the police have claimed they have has surfaced, but some have claimed that Kimmons was shot 15 times in the back while running away after he had already dropped the gun. Numerous news articles have stressed that his death was a great loss to his family, including 2 small children. What many are attempting to downplay is that Kimmons was a quote-unquote former Crip gang member who had bragged about it on Facebook. He had been previously charged with selling cocaine, possessing an unregistered firearm in violation of his parole, and attempted jury tampering. Also, the fact that he was out at 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning while his children were ostensibly at home asleep, and one of the wounded men was his friend and former gang member. These inconvenient facts paint a pretty clear picture, countering what his mother, parole officer, and every liberal bleeding heart in Portland would have you believe. We are now left with the question, can you really set the bar low enough for the current shamelessness of the far left? The part that bothers me the most is, without either the coroner's report or the surveillance video, the left feels totally justified in lashing out. What if, which seems likely at this point, they turn out to be wrong, and Patrick Kimmons was justifiably killed by the police for being an attempted murderer who wouldn't drop the gun? To me, this situation is as if a black man was found hung by a tree, people burn their city to the ground to protest the injustice, and a week later, they find his video suicide note. The following Saturday, an impromptu vigil/march was held at Terry Shrunk Plaza, led by Kimmons' own mother. Cries of "fuck the police" were repeated ad nauseum. Because the group did not file a permit, they decided to block streets and direct traffic, repeatedly harassing innocent drivers. It appears some even went out of their way to jump on the hood of a car in order to claim the virtue of being the next would-be Heather Heyer, who you might remember from the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. These videos have now been widely shared around the internet and through cable news networks. Police were parked on several sides of the protest, only a block away, keeping watch but not interfering with this blatantly illegal display, which per Ted Wheeler was at his direction in order to, quote, not inflame an already volatile situation. The reaction he and Portland Police Chief Daniel Outlaw have received has elicited predictable responses such as, "Hindsight is always perfect," and "Policing is full of difficult choices." Or my personal favorite by Ted Wheeler, "I am not a nutcase mayor," which was in response to criticism by Fox News. Unfortunately, though, Ted Wheeler is indeed a nutcase mayor. A 5-week sit-in protest outside the Portland ICE office during the summer was not even attempted to be dispersed by police, despite it being a Class C misdemeanor to block the entrances to federal buildings. I repeat, this went on for 5 weeks. ICE representatives have even tried to take him to court over his direction to the police to not take action. Ted Wheeler is trying to push a new ordinance that would allow him to have discretion over whether groups with previous violent histories with each other would be allowed to be in the same area, allowing Ted Wheeler to decide which areas these groups protest in and at what time. Some might welcome this. I do not. For those Portlanders crying out for an end to the madness and a return to some semblance of law and order, this must sound appealing, but not to me. I don't trust Ted Wheeler to make those decisions fairly. I don't trust Ted Wheeler much at all. But more than that, I don't think this city gets to elect clown shoes liberals and then not have to deal with the consequences of the hell they've created for themselves and everyone living here. At the beginning of this video, I asked, how fucked is Portland? Well, pretty fucked, I'd say. In my view, when something's dying, push it.